Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre. That's better. Like I was saying, hi, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you yet another painting tutorial. This painting tutorial is going to be on the High Marshal, or should I say High Chaplain of the Black Templars, Grimaldus. This miniature was a challenge to paint slightly due to his 3 little assistant servitors. Grimaldus took by himself, I'd say, about 20% of the time for this entire box set. It's quite a simple miniature to get painted and ready for the tabletop. The other 3 guys took quite a bit of time, especially that banner. It may have taken a lot of time, but it wasn't a hard process, and I will show you how I did that throughout this video. So hopefully that you guys can pick up your set of Grimaldus and get them painted up to a really nice tabletop standard, ready for the bottles ASAP. So stick around to the end of the video and yeah, enjoy. Okay guys, this is how I prepared the set for painting. Grimaldus got the spray black, spray silver treatment, and the 3 servitors and the big chunk of marble got the spray black, spray grey Seer treatment. That's an all over coat of the black and then a zenithal of either grey Seer or silver. This is what we start working with. Okay, we're going to start off by getting the contrast Black Templar onto Grimaldus's armor. This will take a long time to dry, so we're going to apply this and then we're going to jump over and get some base coats and washes done on the servitors. So, like I've done in a couple of Black Templars videos before, you know I like to do Black Templar over silver to begin the armor process. Overload your brush, load it with Black Templar, and then go to town. I like to apply the contrast on one entire area first. So for instance, this front leaning leg, I'll get Black Templar on this entire piece, and then I will wait and see if it pools anywhere and then pull that away and then move on to the next part of the armor. This is quick and painless. And after the Black Templar has been applied, this is what it should look like. Nice smooth coat of black. Okay, now it's time to move on and get some base coats and washes done on the servitors that carry the relics from Grimaldus' backstory. So these guys are going to be painted a tiny bit different to the box art, and the reason for that is I painted up High Marshal Helbert recently, and his servers were painted one way and Grimaldus were painted another. I figured they would both be, all those servers be maintained by the same artisans kind of thing, so that I'm going to follow the paint scheme of them that I used for the High Marshal Helbert video, which gave them the grey-blue fatigues as opposed to the black fatigues and stuff like that. So we're going to go through with that process and get stuck in. So we're going to start with the Space Wolves grey contrast on all of their overalls. They're basically their work suit. This is the bit that I was talking about. Then next we are going to move on to Black Templar, and we're going to use this to apply that onto their work boots. So they've all got these black leather work boots. So just a quick coat of Black Templar over them and over their aprons. They all have work aprons on, which in the box art is black. So I'm going to follow through with that for those 2 parts. This is what it should look like once the black has been applied. Next, we're going to spend a little bit of time on the banner. So Blood Angel Red contrast. And we're going to apply this to the entire banner part. This banner, this piece in particular, the model I'm holding here, is definitely the bit that takes the longest to paint for the entire process of this miniature. Or this retinue, should I say. Take your time with it. The results at the end are pretty good. But just be patient. As you can see, there's a few small details in red on the other guys, some candles and some purity seals, but mainly it's that banner. Nice smooth coat of red over the entire thing. Next thing we're going to do is move over to Gulliman Blue, or Gulliman Flesh, sorry, and we're going to apply this to any skin parts that are showing on these servitors. They're mostly mechanical, but there is some skin showing through. I know it's meant to be that grey, dead skin, but I prefer a little bit of warmth to it. These are higher grade servitors used by the masters of the chapter, so I'd imagine they're a little bit better maintained. And here's them with the Gulliman Flesh applied. Starting to get somewhere. Next thing I'm going to do is move over to Skeleton Horde. And this is going to be for any of the parchment bits on the miniatures, plus the giant skull or skeleton built into the banner.
some ancient saint or some wicked sorcerer who thought he could get away with it, trapped in a banner cage forever. Not a great way to spend eternity, but you look cool doing it. So skeleton horde contrast over these parts. As I went back with the Black Templar and did the skulls on the banner. Next is XV88. And this is going to be the base coat for the golden aquila on the banner. So obviously it's not actually gold because it's built into a banner, it's fabric. So I tried to do something a little different here. I wasn't too sure where I was going with it at the beginning, but like I said before, I think the results worked out. I'm quite pleased with them. I'm more than happy with the banner. So yeah, XV88 on the banner aquila. This was the base coat. And from here we're going to move over to Grey Seer. And we're going to base coat the sword going through the middle of the banner as well. So quick and easy. This is the part now you have to be careful with, as we don't want to hit the skulls, the red fabric, or the golden aquila. So get a nice pointed brush, take your time and paint in that sword. Looks a little bit rough now, but these are only base coats, so don't worry about that. Next we move on to Screamer Pink, and we're going to use this to base coat any of the Purity Seal wax seals. So it seals twice there, but don't hold me to that. So I always like the Purity Seal wax being done in Screamer Pink. I just think it's a really nice accent colour for it. There's quite a few of these around these particular retinue, so take your time and find them all. There's actually one under the armpit, I believe, of the guy holding the bowl that I nearly missed. So check that out. Okay, most of the flat coloured base coats are on. It's time to move on to the metallics. So Leadbelcher, and we're going to base coat any and all metallic parts that we have on this miniature. Once again, the banner bit takes the most time. There's a cage running around that skeleton holding it in place. So that takes a minute or two to get base coated. And then there's a bunch of bits and pieces on the models and the rest of the retinue. So take your time and get this done as neat as possible. And once you've applied the silver, I believe that is all the base coats applied to the retinue of Grimaldus. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shade down these three miniatures and then move back to Grimaldus, hopefully. Do some work on him. So Seraphim Sepia is my shade of choice, and I'm going to shade over the entire three servitors with this, including the banner. This will show up all of the detail, especially things like that aquila, and we will then later on pull all those colours back up again. Don't be panicking. Quickly what the three miniatures look like with the shade applied. Lots of detail showing. It's going to be really easy to highlight from here. That guy is obviously missing his marble aquila column, and we're actually going to start on that in just a second. It's a quick and easy scheme for that as well. So this is the piece that's missing from that miniature, his marble column topped with aquila. What we're going to do is we're going to use Space Wolf's grey contrast, and we're actually going to put a drop of water into this to thin it out, and then we're going to apply this to all the parts that you want to be marble. As you can see, I'm not trying to stain the whole thing blue, I'm just trying to add a tint of colour. Okay, we can finally get back to the main man, Grimaldus himself. After that armour contrast has dried, we are going to move on and add a tiny bit of quick highlighting to that armour, and we're going to do that by giving it a light dry brush of Leadbelcher silver paint just to catch the edges. We will then knock this back down again later on with a black wash, but we need to get a bunch of other base coats on before we get to that stage. And the silver dry brush, we don't want that to hit any of the other parts. That's why it hits or gets applied at this stage. So very light dry brush over all of the black armour, aiming for the sharp edges. Once that is done, we are going to focus on the red cloth that's on him. And for that, we're going to start it with a base coat of Khorne Red. applied carefully to his little skirt and tabard bits. Like I said, it's okay to hit any of the bits that are still silver, but do not hit any of the black. These are the red bits that I found on the miniature. The haft of the Croziest, the casing of his plasma pistol, and that cloth. Next, we're going to do Zandri Dust, and we're going to apply that as a base coat to all of those parchment bits that run down the center of his body. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that the tabard ring on the left-hand side, the bottom half of it is red, because I didn't realize it was a part of the purity seal until a little bit too late. We're going to paint over that with Zandri Dust and fix that mistake. As you can see, I've taken the time to base coat the skeleton's hand on the back of his backpack and the candles, also using the Zandri Dust. Next, it's time for Balthasar Gold, and we're going to use this to base coat the head of the Crozius and a few other bits and pieces on the miniature. The Crozius is an ancient weapon. It's quite old and tarnished, so we don't want to start with a super bright gold. So Balthasar Gold is a perfect starting point. And as you can see, there's more gold detail bits on it than you would expect. The details on top of his shoulder pad, head of the Crozius, bottom of the Crozius, and the hilt of the sword behind him. Next, it's onto Leadbelcher to basically base coat any other metallics on the miniature. So we're going to go back around the casing of the, or not the casing, the body of the plasma pistol, leaving all the red bits nice and clean. Any of the chains obviously wrapping around his arms holding his weapons together are also done in silver, and a few other bits and pieces. And just like some of the parts on the servitors, we have some Screamer Pink that we need to catch the wax parts of his purity seals. I've shown you this stage before, so I don't need to get into it too much. Just find all the purity seals, and the wax parts need to be Screamer Pink. Okay, I believe we have all of the base coats done on Grimaldus now. So now it's time to wash all of those parts back down again. And for this, we're going to jump over to Nuln Oil. And we're actually going to apply this to the entire miniature. This will actually finish off the armor. The light silver dry brush we gave it earlier will still show through and act like kind of an edge highlighting, but a little bit more subtle and a lot easier to do. So take your time, get a nice coat of Nuln Oil all over the miniature and make sure it doesn't pool anywhere you don't want it to. And this is what Grimaldus will look like when the shade has been applied to the entire model. Very grim dark. Okay, while the shade was drying, I took the liberty of basing the miniature. And this is what he currently looks like. It's now time to start the layering process. I'm pulling those bright colors back up again. And we're going to start with his tabard. I've gone for the Mephiston Red Air, like I do in a bunch of my videos. It's like a pre-thinned red paint, and it's fantastic for a layering process. So I'm going to take my time, follow the raised parts of the cloth, and get this guy's tabard highlighted. I always love these stages, seeing these colours pop and come to life. So that is the red tabard layered up. Quite happy with how that turned out. It's time to move on to the metallic parts. So we're going to go for Sigmarite Bronze. And we're going to give the Balthazar Gold wash parts a light dry brush or a light layer depending on the area. So the head of the Crozius we can do as a quick dry brush. And as you can see, it just grabs the edges and pulls that colour back up again. Looks great. Bottom of the Crozius, but then when we get into parts like the top of the shoulder pads and those medals in his chest, we're going to go back to a simple layer brush and do it with that so we don't hit any of the parts that we don't want to be bronzed or gold up. Okay, with the gold and bronze bits finished up, we're going to touch up the silver parts, pull them up a tiny bit again with the going back to the Leadbelcher paint. I like metallics in the 40k universe to be quite dull, so it's generally a Leadbelcher, a wash down, and then pull back up a Leadbelcher. It's only the odd times that I will go to Iron Breaker or anything like that. So just a few quick touch-ups on the highest and sharpest parts of all of the silver metallics. Okay, and with the metallics brought up, it's time to work on all of the parchment parts. So we're going to jump to Ushabti Bone, and we're going to layer up the crosses on his shoulder pads, all of his tabards, the skulls, and the hand that is being held by the sword over his back. You've noticed in other videos, I like the bone-colored shoulder pads and crosses over the white. I think it ties better into the scheme and the miniatures. So yeah, I'll do that. If you want to go for the pure white, the more traditional colors of Black Templars, go for it. At this stage, you can just jump up to 2 thin coats of white. But I'm going to stick with the bone. Okay, now here is those parts all done up with the Ushabti Bone. It's really feeling like the miniature is nearly finished now. Quite happy with that. So we're going to jump back to the Screamer Pink to layer up the book that's on his hip. I base coated the cover of that with Screamer Pink before, and now it's been washed down with the black wash. So now it's time to do a tiny bit of layering and pull that colour back up again. You can see how dark and dull it is. So just a quick layer job, neat and tidy. So one of the last few steps is going to be to add the plasma effect to his pistol. And for that, I'm going to go for Talassar Blue. You can go for any color that you like. Any bright contrast will do over the silver that's left in it. Any preferred plasma color, I'm sticking with Talassar Blue for all of these kind of details across the models. So all my plasma pistols are going to be Talassar Blue. Any lanterns and stuff that are across the army, I'm going to put a bit of Talassar Blue in just as to tie it all together. The last little touch on this guy is, as you can see, I've highlighted the flames with the Ushabti Bone as well. So now I'm just going to throw a Uriel Yellow contrast over any of the open flames, just to add a little bit of glow effect. Nothing spectacular. I know there's much more intricate ways of doing this, but this more than does the job for tricking the eyes into seeing flames. Okay, with Grimaldus pretty much finished up, it's time to get back and layer up these servitors. So, just like the High Marshal Halbert video, we're going to use the Fang to pull the Space Wolf Grey contrast pants and overalls back up again. So what you're going to do is carefully go around any of the bits that you did with the Space Wolf contrast and layer them up with the Fang. From this part, we are going to quickly add a little bit of more black to the aprons on the miniatures. So we're just going to jump to Abbadon Black and quickly layer up those parts. I'm going to leave the boots as are. I won't go back over and layer them. I like the grungy, dirty look on them. But the aprons, we're going to move to a little bit more of a solid black. It's now time for all of those skin parts that we did with the Gulliman Flesh contrast. And for this, we're going to move on to Cadian Fleshtone and just layer up the highest parts of all of the musculature and face, nose, ears, those kind of parts on the servitor miniatures. We're now going to jump back to the Leadbelcher and pull the dark metallics back up. Like I said, when doing Grimaldus, just the highest parts. Leave all the recesses with that Seraphim Sepia Leadbelcher in it. And just use this as a light highlight. As you can see, I'm not going crazy. Just a few touches here and there. Okay, this is the part of the video that gets a little bit strange. It would take, I'd have to add another 15 minutes to this video to show you the entire layering process of this banner. So I'm just going to quickly show you that I used the Mephiston Red layer, Ushabti Bone layer, and the Towlight Ochre layer to layer up the 3 different parts of the banner. And when it was finished, they looked like this. Quick and easy. Oh, dropped paint there twice. So now we're going to move on to Troll Slayer Orange. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to start layering up the flame pattern on the banner. So turn the banner upside down and we're just going to feather the fire bits facing down, leaving the red parts and the bits that are closest to those black skulls in red, but just the kind of 70% down the flame all the way to the tips in orange. Same process again. We're going to jump to Uriel Yellow for this. And instead of being 70% down the flames, we're going to go, say, 40% down the flames and do the same thing. So we're going to have a little bit of orange, or a little bit of red, then it's a little bit of orange, then it's a little bit of yellow. Quick and painless. From here, it's time for the little hack. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Peroxide White dry paint. And we're basically going to dry brush the entire surface of the banner to catch all those edges. It will highlight the skulls, the flames, the golden aquila part, even the red, catch the edges of that, and it'll look great. I mean, look at the result already. A few swipes across the skulls, and the difference is, I can't even say it. It changes the whole thing. Like, we've spent a lot of time in the banner. Admittedly, we have spent a lot of time on the banner, but a lot more time than even that. This is the part of the video that I don't want to cut any of it. I want you to see the entire process to see that quick result. Okay, now time to move on to the Aquila stick and try and make it look a little bit more like marble. So we're going to do this via 2 dry brushes. The first one's going to be grey Seer. Both of these dry brushes are going to be quite light. We want to leave that kind of blue tinged white underneath. So with this, we're going to catch a little bit more than the edges, a little bit heavy. Make sure when you go down the shaft of it, we're going to go side to side to catch the lines that run up and down. And after you've done that, we're then going to move on to Ulthuan Grey and just catch the very edges of the miniature. As you can see, I'm even being softer in my movements. Just to catch those bits. It's time to pull up the purity seals. So any of the fabric bits in the purity seals, we're going to use Ushabti Bone. I'm sure I've shown you this before. But this is the process we use for any of the purity seals on the banner or any of the ones on Grimaldus. Any of those washed down Zandri Dust will get layered up with Ushabti Bone. And after you've done that, we're going to move over to Screamer Pink, or Pink Horror should I say, sorry. And we're going to use this to highlight any of the wax seals that we've done, the Screamer Pink colour. So just quickly around the edges, every single purity seal you find on Grimaldus or his entire retinue of the banner will go around the edges with this colour. Now it's time for another little hack. So we've got this bowl guy who I think is not the most exciting part of the box set. So we're going to jump over to Talassar Blue and we're going to fill up that holy liquid in his backpack by simply filling in those window shapes with Talassar Blue. We are also going to fill the bowl that it's attached to. Obviously this is the same liquid, it's pumping from his back out into the bowl, some sort of holy water. Let's try and make that look as pure as possible with the Talassar Blue. And this is what they look like when they're finished. So this is Grimaldus himself and his retinue of servitors carrying the holy relics that survived the fall of the cathedral, Hell's Reach, painted up and ready for the tabletop. Quite pleased with the result. I'd be more than happy to put these guys on the tabletop and play some cool games with them. It's ticked off another one of the Black Templar new releases. Next thing I'm going to do is the Sword Brethren. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful and picked up a few tips and tricks. If you did, don't forget to support me, support the channel, subscribe, throw the video a like, and if you have any questions about anything we did here today, drop it in the comments below. I will get back to each and every one of you as soon as possible. So until I see you guys in the next video, bye-bye.